Fab. So, myself and Giles met on a networking event a few weeks ago and thought it would be useful to have a recorded conversation because we essentially have the same sort of end goal in mind, which is helping people have a great relationship with the digital world, use it in the right way. Mine being on kind of the more well-being side, and Giles being more about the sustainability side, which when I spoke to Giles kind of blew my mind a bit because you just, when it comes to digital, I think you don't think about it. You think about it being something that, doesn't really exist because you can't feel it or touch it, whereas actually there is a a digital carbon product, I guess is the way to put it. So do you want to
Yeah, yeah,
introduce what you do, Giles? Because I probably
sure.
haven't done
Yeah,
that
I mean,
effectively.
people think it's intangible or don't even know it's a thing, but yes, it is very much tangible and also very much quantifiable as well because you can measure it. So
Yeah.
yeah, as I say, when we first met, Sam, there's definitely I don't know. I don't like to use the word synergy, but I can't think of anything
The
better at
perfect word for it, I
the
think.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely synergy there, and yeah, you're coming at it from a well-being angle and aspect, and there definitely is an aspect of that
Mm.
to what I'm trying to do as well, because it's a win-win situation if you cut down your um, social media use, the time you spend on your phone, the black monolith we all have in our pockets these days. Or even like the number of emails that you send or receive, then it has a dual benefit of helping your well-being and also saving on carbon. So it's good for the planet and good for the soul as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, well that's it. It's something that I'm going to be talking about more now actually, and obviously pointing people in your direction when it comes to it because it's not my realm of expertise, but that's exactly it. I'm talking about reducing use for your well-being when actually, as well as that, it can actually have a somewhat significant impact on the environment as well. Particularly because pretty much every person over a certain age, let's go with probably 13, but actually it's probably younger these days, knowing myself with a 10-year-old who has a mobile phone. But actually it's pretty much every adult is using some form of digital solution and therefore, has a role to play in making sure not only are they doing it in a way that's conscious and good for their well-being and making sure they're not just caught in the endless scroll, sending pointless emails, all of that kind of thing, but that actually it then also can have an impact on our environment, on our climate as well. There is actually an app I recommend to people. I don't know if you've heard of this app, Forest app. Um, and it is like an app you have on your phone. And when you go into a forest session, you can't go on any other app on your phone essentially. So it kind of blocks your access to any app. And you can either set that for a certain period of time. So you could say, I want to do a forest session for 2 hours, or you can just start it and stop whenever you want. But the longer you spend in a forest session, the more coins you generate, as well as growing a virtual forest. But that's not really my bag. I'm not really bothered about that side of things. But once you've got to a certain number of coins, I think it's 2,500, you can convert them into a real tree. So you kind of use your virtual coins and the app then partners with a charity who then plants a real tree. So it's one of my favorite phone blocking apps when I want to obviously stay focused, not go on my phone as much, because not using my phone means I'm actually also not only obviously having an environmental impact in terms of I'm not spending as much time on those platforms, but also they do then plant trees as a result of you not spending as much time on your phone.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. There's another app that I use, which sort of acts as an interstitial to sort of give you a bit of time to breathe and think if you do actually want to carry on and open the app, and that's called One Sec. So
Ah,
you can
yeah.
set it to um, 60 seconds or whatever. It goes up the screen and then goes down again. It just gives you time to think, well, do I actually why have I opened this app?
Yeah.
Am I just going on Instagram to have a bit of a serotonin hit or whatever,
Yeah.
or like, am I running the risk of disappearing down a rabbit hole if I think, oh well, I'll just go on Instagram or whatever for 30 seconds, and then sort of 5, 10, 15 minutes later, you're still sort of just scrolling through it
Yeah.
mindlessly and not actually really doing anything or engaging anything, but
Yeah.
with anything. But whilst I think on, there is also a third benefit as well to not using your devices so much, whether that's the ubiquitous your mobile phone or your tablet, or indeed your laptop, your Chromebook or whatever, because every time you use any of your devices, it consumes electricity. You either have your device plugged into the mains, or you're charging the battery, and the more you use it, the more you have to, recharge that device, and then the more it costs you in
Yeah.
terms of electricity.
Yeah.
And that's where the main carbon emissions equivalent footprint comes from. Not
Right.
so much on the actual usage of the phone or the device, although that is a factor, but it's more the time it takes to power the device to recharge them, and indeed where that electricity comes from, whether that comes from clean, green, renewable energy sources, or from um, coal-fired power stations or nuclear power or whatever. But
Of
yeah,
course.
just to go back to what you were saying earlier, just by way of finishing off the introductions, I'm an ethical freelance digital marketer, but also work with people to help them understand, measure, and indeed reduce the carbon footprint of, primarily their website and their digital usage, but also um, advise on wider business carbon reduction as well. I actually offer
Right.
entry level carbon reduction workshops through Small 99 Crab. Have a
A
nice
crab
fluffy
reference.
crab there. Crab
Excellent.
stands for Carbon Reduction Action Box. It's a quick and easy and low cost sort of entry level introduction to business carbon reduction or individual carbon reduction, and does in fact give you a carbon reduction plan at the end of the session. So,
Okay.
anybody who is interested in either reducing their device usage for the sake of their health and well-being, or indeed reducing their carbon footprint, then you're the people that we're trying to reach, and trying to help, and make things better for. So yeah,
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think like I was saying last time we spoke that, I was telling my husband about it. He's very into, in fact, yesterday he was telling me he'd sent a letter to about 10 MPs or something about some kind of environmental issue that was bothering him. I can't even remember what it was specifically about. But when I spoke to him about, that the digital world actually has a impact as well. And, I was talking about emails as an example, and he just was like, I don't get it though, because you're just sending an email. Like you're not sending off you're not firing up a car or a plane, or, it's not transporting like postage, for example, like sending it to the other side of the world. It's just floating and gone. So how does that have an impact? So, and I think that's the case for probably a lot of businesses as well, that, one thing I talk about in my digital culture workshop is email management, because it's just part of our everyday lives now, isn't it? I think the stats are that in the working day, something like 2.5 hours is spent on emails alone. So 2.5 hours on email is for some people, that's like half their working day spent on their emails, backwards and forwards with emails. And I talk a lot about how we can reduce that down by sending less emails. But I've never really thought about the fact that emails also have can actually have an impact on our planet. So can you explain how that kind of happens? Because it's kind of
Yeah,
mind-blowing, I think.
no, for sure, for sure. Well, the Carbon Literacy Project, which is a great resource on their website, carbonliteracy.com. There is indeed an article on the carbon cost of an email. There's also another article on the carbon footprint of social media as well, which recommend that people take a look at. But the figures, the statistics, the data is changing all the time. But as the article says, the number of emails sent is expected to top 376 billion in 2025, which is next year. And whilst each one may seem fairly innocuous, the collective impact of billions of emails soon adds up. But as is the case with most of these things, it is nuanced and depends on the context of which you're sending the email, and indeed the device that you're receiving it on and reading it. But leading leading carbon reduction and sustainability consultancy expert Mike Berners-Lee, brother of Tim Berners-Lee, the founder of the World Wide Web, or credited with being the founder of the World Wide Web. He's got a book called How Bad Are Bananas? The Carbon Footprint of Everything. And that's been out for a few years now. But Mike puts the range at between 0.03 grams of CO2 equivalent emissions per email and 26 grams. Now, again, that might not seem an awful lot, although there is a big difference between 0.03 grams and 26 grams. But when you scale that up to the number of emails that we all send and receive on a daily basis, again, it does all stack up. Now,
absolutely.
Some of those emails will be spam. Excuse me. Some of those emails will be spam emails that do get picked up by your filters and never actually make it into your inbox. They're the ones that have got CO2 equivalent emissions of 0.03 grams. But then there's a short email which is sent and received on a phone. That's 0.2 grams. A short email sent and received on a laptop, 0.3. And then there's quite a big jump up to the next one, which is a long email that takes 10 minutes to write and 3 minutes to read, and again is sent and received on a laptop. That's 17 grams.
Wow.
And then there's an email blast that takes 10 minutes to write and is sent to a mailing list of 100 people. Of those 100, only one person reads it, and the other 99 of them glance at it for a few seconds to decide whether they should ignore it or read it, and then maybe leave it sitting in their inbox for days, weeks, months, whatever, years in some cases. And that has 26 grams of CO2. But then any emails that we do leave sitting in any of our email boxes, whether that's our inbox, our sent items, our deleted items, our junk folders, they all sit on a server, and servers sit in data centers. Data centers consume not only a vast amount of electricity, but also consume a vast amount of water and cooling in order to keep the ambient temperature in the server centers at between 12 and 15 degrees. So there's also a knock-on effect of that as well. So the upshot of it is try and send less emails, be more assiduous in the ones that you subscribe to, go through any emails that you just aren't reading with any regularity and unsubscribe from them. But also, delete, go through your sent items, go through your deleted items, especially go through your spam folder, and just delete anything, because you really don't need to hold on to things for an indefinite amount of time. I think legally, the longest you need to hold on to emails and things is 2 years, unless you
Right.
do need to hold on to things for tax purposes or to prove compliance or whatever. But
Yeah.
I spoke to somebody on a networking session when I raised the issue. I think it was after I'd done a presentation on website carbon reduction and digital carbon reduction. And the person had, I think she said, 50,000 emails still within her email account in her inbox. And basically she kept everything that she'd ever sent, everything that she'd ever received. And the rationale was why she did that. It's, well, I might need them. It's like, well, but yeah, but you're not going to need an email from 10 years ago.
Definitely
And
not.
even if you did, you could always like archive it or move things into a dedicated folder to make them easier to find, or indeed just save them off into like a removable hard drive or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the most extreme example of anybody that I've ever come across as far
I
as
bet there's a lot though that aren't too far off that. I mean, this has really actually got me thinking when you were talking there, because one thing I have a tendency for is to let my mailbox get full, and then I'll be like, oh, got to go in and delete as much as possible. So I will delete, but only when it seems to max out. And I do delete all kind of sales types emails that come through that I'm not interested in, and do clear out my deleted items folder. But I'm probably guilty a lot of the time of keeping emails I don't need to. And then on the flip side, as running a business, on my email list, I've got about 2,500 people. And it's made me think actually about going through that and getting rid of a lot of them, because they're probably, if they're not reading my emails, then I'm just actually adding to the problem by sending emails to people who aren't interested in reading them. And thereby I'm sat in their inbox for no particular reason, and that's going to have an impact as well. So yeah,
sure,
that's given
sure.
me some
Well,
food for thought.
yeah, and I mean, if you use Mailchimp, for instance,
Mm,
you used to be able to have on the free version of Mailchimp, you used to be able to have up to 2,000 subscribers. They've since reduced that to
yeah,
500. If you go above the 500 mark, you now have to pay for it.
yeah,
So it's a good idea to look to see how many of those people are active, because if they're inactive, you can archive them
yeah,
off and free up some more capacity to add additional people to your mailing list who perhaps are going to be more engaged. But
yeah,
just
definitely.
just what you were saying before, there is some debate about going through and cleaning out your email folders, although it is good hygiene to do that. Some people are saying, well, if you do that on a dedicated basis, like you spend a couple of hours or half a day doing it, you're still consuming electricity and generating carbon by going to all that time and effort to actually do it. But you know what? And anything we do these days has a carbon footprint or carbon emissions associated with it.
Yeah,
And I take the view that it's better to do something than do nothing at all.
yeah.
We can't all live off grid in North Wales, whittling spoons from
Well,
fallen tree branches for a living and sell them at our local
that sounds
farmers
nice and
market.
stress
Great, don't
free.
know that would be.
I would love to be doing that actually. It sounds very stress free, but yeah,
Yeah, so sort
real
of
life doesn't quite work like that, does it?
no, no. So there's a concept of digital sobriety, which isn't an all or nothing approach. You don't have to go totally abstinent, but it's about taking more of a mindful approach to how you use your devices. The emails that you send out, um, your social media usage. Do you really just need to send a thank you email? That's fine if somebody appreciates it and expects it, but we're all brought up on the whole to be polite and courteous and very British about this sort of thing, and do thank people. But just because somebody pays your email, your sorry, I beg your pardon, pays your invoice on time, for instance, you don't necessarily have to thank them for
Yeah,
doing that. It's kind of expected these
yeah,
days. But
yeah. No,
it's
it's
just
true.
little things like that. It does all add up, and before you know it, it is cutting down both the amount of time you spend actually writing those emails in the first place and the amount that you send out, and also the amount that people receive. So
Yeah.
yeah, have a look at the concept of digital sobriety, because I think that's more easily adoptable for most people, and certainly for businesses, rather than taking an all or nothing approach and saying, well, we're not going to do anything, because that's
Yeah.
not really feasible or viable, is it?
Not in this world anymore, no. I mean, because of so many people knowing now what I do in terms of digital well-being, I'll often have people kind of, they're on their phone as I'm approaching them. I'll go, "Oh no, it's Sam, quick, put my phone away." And I'm like, it's not about that. It's not, I'm not a smartphone hater. I'm not a
Mm,
hater of the digital world. If anything, it's given me a career for the last 14 years and has helped me grow my business. So, I absolutely love the digital world. But it's exactly what you said there about moving from unconscious use to conscious use. So why am I
yeah,
picking up
yeah.
my
There's no,
phone? What is the
yeah,
purpose behind it? Do I want to be spending 4 hours scrolling on TikTok? Is it bringing joy and fulfillment to my life? Or is it actually depleting the joy out of my life and taking time away from things that I should and could be doing that would actually aid and benefit my life over scrolling on my
definitely,
phone?
definitely. But
Um,
yeah, there's no finger wagging or judgment in
no,
what
definitely
we
not.
do. We're not like here to shame anybody.
Yeah.
That's counterproductive. There is, or there has been, an element in the past in the ethical business world, and indeed the sustainability carbon reduction world, where people who aren't necessarily stepping up to the mark or being perceived to step up to the mark have been sort of judged or shamed. But there's now a concept of um, kind of imperfect action, whereby it's better to do something than to do nothing at all. But nobody's expected to be um, completely completely perfect. As I say, living up a tree off grid in Wales or whatever.
No.
So again, don't make anybody feel bad or feel like they're not doing enough if they are doing what they can. Um,
Exactly that, isn't it? Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
just do what you can, because doing something is better than doing nothing at
Yeah.
all. Absolutely.
Yeah. Action taking doesn't mean taking all actions. It means just taking those few little actions that can, even if they just have a tiny difference, like you say, if everyone did it, then the cumulative impact is huge. But yeah, I'm the same, I'm not a digital wellbeing expert that would say delete all the apps off your phone or just get off social media, like cancel all your accounts, because for some people, that is their social outlet. That is where they, get to go and chat to friends and family and where they do maybe get some joy. But it's really about just having that right balance, just like everything is in life, I guess, isn't it? Much as we'd all
Yeah,
like to be
yeah,
eating chocolate for every meal, we have to make sure that we fuel our bodies with the right things. And similarly, we need to make sure we're fueling our minds with the right things and we're doing all the right, balancing the right activities to make sure that we're living as okay a life as we can, I guess.
yeah. Well, you know what? The fact that we're talking today on Zoom, that has its own
Yeah, of
CO2 emissions associated with it.
course.
We've both got our cameras on for obvious reasons, but if you turn your camera off when you're in a Zoom meeting, when you're not speaking, it saves fully 96% of the impact of
Wow.
every single meeting that we do. If you do a lot of networking or a lot of meetings through Zoom, then again it all adds up. But
Great.
the most of those emissions are created by having to send the video down the line, as it were. Um, so that's where the impact comes from. And you know
Yeah,
what? Sometimes it's better to just pick up the phone and have a phone conversation with people rather than have yet another Zoom meeting. But
so true.
by far the best option is to go walk to your local coffee shop and have an in-person meeting with them. But if you
Yeah.
live
And support
hundreds
local
of miles
businesses
away
at the
from the
same
person that
time.
you're speaking to, then that's
Yeah.
not possible, is it? So you know
Yeah.
what, we do the best with the tools that we've got, but again, it also comes down to what you're using it for. It's very um, different, or one thing to have a Zoom meeting where we're talking about the sort of things we're talking about today. It's entirely different for I don't know, like a social media influencer to try and persuade people to buy a
Yeah,
gas guzzling SUV, for instance. It's a question of what you use it for, and
yeah,
whether you're using it for good or whether you're using it to try and educate people or raise awareness about an issue, or whether you're using it to sell
yeah.
something to somebody that they don't want or they don't need.
Very true. And I'm sure that, well, fingers crossed, anyone who that is then watching the recording of this Zoom, it will almost be carbon offset by the actions that they're going to take, hopefully, in reducing their digital use in some format. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully it's had a more positive impact than it has taking up any in terms of the carbon emissions. Hopefully, the offset is much bigger than the initial emissions that have been a product of our conversation. So
Sure,
yeah,
sure. We've only just scratched the surface. It's just the tip of the iceberg. No climate change related, pun intended.
I
So
love that.
yeah, we could well go on for hours about this, and we've both
Absolutely.
done longer and more in depth, more comprehensive presentations on the ins and outs of all this stuff and why it's a good idea to do it. But yeah, we wanted to specifically sort of keep this short and sweet and fairly concise. But yeah, we have literally only scratched the surface of this.
Yeah, absolutely, which is a great reason why businesses should really get us both in, um, because there is so much more to it and so much that businesses could be doing on both sides that actually leads to the same result, which is being more mindful and reducing digital use as well. So I think probably the best thing to end on is saying, get in touch if you're interested in talking to either of us about the two different sides of how we help you manage the digital world and the impact that that can have.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, very happy to connect with people on LinkedIn and have a conversation about them. Sorry, have a conversation with them about this sort of thing,
Yeah,
and even introduce people to other people who can assist with the journey that we're all on, hopefully to reduce the carbon footprint of each of us as individuals and businesses, and yeah, do what we can to try and lessen the effects of the climate change that basically we are all seeing
yeah,
every day, and the effects of which I've certainly noticed over the last year. It's just been one
yeah.
one storm after another. Where
Yeah, even as we're talking, actually, the weather has changed very rapidly, and has gone from a lovely sunny day to now pouring with rain where I am, which is quite irritating because I have my washing outside.
oh dear, well yeah, I'll
So
let you
on
go
that
on
note, I
that.
might have to go and pull my now wet washing in. But yeah,
Yes,
really nice to
yeah,
chat to you
sure.
again, Giles.
And
And
you, Sam, yeah,
yeah,
lovely to speak to
thanks
you.
for
Yeah,
all the
and
insights.
thank you.